What if the life you want is not waiting for a miracle, but waiting for a skill you have not yet learned? What if the difference between who you are and who you could become is hidden inside 5 small abilities you can practice every day? Listen carefully, because this may challenge everything you have believed about success. You do not need to become extraordinary overnight. You need to become intentional today. Your future is built quietly through small decisions that nobody applauds. The world celebrates results, but results are usually the visible fruit of invisible skills. The first skill is learning to listen before you react. Most people listen only long enough to prepare their answer. They hear words, but they miss meaning. They hear criticism, but miss the lesson. They hear opportunity, but miss the warning. Real listening requires humility. It says, "I do not know everything, and I am willing to learn." Imagine 2 people entering the same room. One is desperate to prove how intelligent he is. The other is curious about what he can discover. Months later, the curious person has gathered knowledge, relationships, wisdom, and opportunities that the first person walked past. Start small. In your next conversation, do not interrupt. Put your phone away. Ask one deeper question. Before defending yourself, ask, "What am I missing?" That tiny habit can change your relationships, your leadership, your career, and even your understanding of yourself. Then take listening beyond conversations. Listen to your own patterns. Notice what repeatedly drains you. Notice what consistently gives you energy. Notice the excuses you keep repeating. Your life is always giving you information. Wisdom begins when you stop ignoring the information. You may think your greatest problem is lack of opportunity. Sometimes the greater problem is lack of attention. Opportunity can stand directly in front of a distracted person and still remain invisible. So today, practice the small skill of listening. Not passive silence, but active attention. Listen to people. Listen to circumstances. Listen to consequences. Listen for truth, even when truth is uncomfortable. Because when you learn to listen, you begin to learn. When you begin to learn, you begin to change. And when you change consistently, your entire life eventually has no choice but to change with you. A skill becomes powerful through repetition, not admiration. Do not agree and move on. Practice it. Ask someone what they need. Ask what this season is teaching you. You may discover the answer you have been chasing is already there, but you have been too busy to hear it. Today, the second small skill is the ability to keep promises to yourself. This sounds simple, almost too simple, but it is one of the foundations of confidence. Every time you tell yourself you will do something and then abandon it without reason, you teach your mind that your own words cannot be trusted. Every time you keep a promise, even a small one, you strengthen self-respect. Think about the person who says, "Tomorrow I will wake up early." Tomorrow arrives, the alarm rings, and the promise disappears. Then comes another promise, "I will exercise." Another promise, "I will read." Another, "I will finish what I started." Eventually, the problem is not laziness alone. The deeper problem is broken trust within yourself. Now reverse the pattern. Stop making dramatic promises. Make small ones. Say, "For the next 7 days, I will read 10 pages. Say, "I will walk for 15 minutes. Say, "I will spend 20 minutes learning a valuable skill." Then keep your word. Do not underestimate tiny victories. When you finish what you said you would finish, something powerful happens inside you. You begin to see yourself as dependable. Dependability creates confidence. Confidence creates courage. Courage creates action. Action creates results. A young person once dreamed of becoming a great speaker, but every time he imagined the future, he felt overwhelmed. He thought he needed a powerful voice, perfect knowledge, and enormous confidence. Then he changed one thing. Every morning he spoke aloud for 5 minutes, explaining one idea clearly. 5 minutes became 10. 10 became 20. Months later, the voice that once trembled could command a room. The transformation did not begin on a stage. It began with a promise kept in private. That is how your life changes. You do not build a powerful future by making huge declarations. You build it by proving day after day that your decisions mean something. So choose one promise today. Make it small enough that excuses look ridiculous. Make it meaningful enough that keeping it matters. Then protect that promise. If you fail, do not turn one failure into an identity. Examine what happened, adjust the plan, and begin again. Discipline is not perfection. Discipline is returning to the path. Your mind needs evidence that you can trust yourself. Give it that evidence. Keep your word when nobody is watching. Keep your word when the excitement fades. Because eventually, you will stop asking, "Can I do this?" You will have trained yourself to believe, "When I decide, I move." And that belief can change everything. The third skill is learning to manage your attention. Your attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess, yet most people give it away without noticing. Every notification, argument, distraction, advertisement, and pointless conversation is asking for a piece of your mind. If you do not decide where your attention goes, somebody else will decide for you. Look at the difference between a person who spends an hour scrolling and a person who spends that same hour studying, practicing, building, or creating. The clock gives both people 60 minutes. Your life moves in the direction of attention. This does not mean you must become a machine. You can enjoy entertainment. But there is a difference between choosing rest and escaping from your responsibilities. There is a difference between entertainment and distraction. There is a difference between relaxation and avoidance. Start with one small practice. Give your important task your first focused block of attention. Before checking messages, decide what matters most. Set a timer, remove unnecessary tabs, silence notifications. Work without negotiating with yourself every 5 minutes. At first, your mind may resist. You will suddenly remember something unimportant. You will want to check your phone. You will feel the urge to switch tasks. That discomfort is not proof that you cannot focus. It is evidence that your attention has been trained to seek constant stimulation. Train it differently. Imagine a student preparing for an important examination. One student studies with a phone beside the notebook, checking every alert. Another places the phone in another room and studies for focused intervals. Neither student necessarily has more intelligence, but one has learned to protect attention. Years later, that small difference can become a massive difference in knowledge, opportunities, income, and confidence. The same principle applies to relationships. When someone speaks to you, be there. When you work, work. When you rest, rest. Stop living in 5 places mentally while standing in one physical place. Attention is a form of respect. When you give someone your full attention, you tell them they matter. When you give your goal your full attention, you tell yourself your future matters. So guard your mind. You cannot control every sound around you, but you can control what you repeatedly invite into your thoughts. Choose what deserves your eyes. Choose what deserves your ears. Choose what deserves your energy, because what captures your attention eventually shapes your thoughts. Your thoughts shape your decisions. Your decisions shape your habits. Your habits shape your life. Protect your attention, and you begin protecting your future. The 4th skill is learning to ask better questions. Many people live inside questions that weaken them. Why does this always happen to me? Why am I not lucky? Why are other people ahead? Those questions may feel natural, but they often lead the mind toward helplessness. A stronger question changes the direction of your thinking. Instead of asking, why is my life so difficult? Ask, what can this difficulty teach me? Instead of asking, who is going to save me? Ask, what can I do with what I have? Instead of asking, why did I fail? Ask, what did the failure reveal that success was hiding? Questions are mental doors. The question you repeatedly ask determines which door your mind tries to open. Imagine 2 people losing the same job. One says, this proves I am finished. The other says, what skill can I build now? Who can I contact? What did I learn here? What opportunity might this create? The event is the same, but the questions create different futures. This is not about pretending pain does not exist. Real life can hurt. Loss can be devastating. Rejection can be humiliating. But you do not have to let pain become the author of your identity. Ask questions that return responsibility to your hands. When you face a problem, try 5 questions. What is actually happening? What part of this can I control? What can I learn? What is the next useful action? Who can help me see what I cannot see? Notice the final question. Strong people understand that asking for wisdom is not weakness. Pride says, I should already know. Wisdom says, I am willing to learn. A business owner may ask, why are customers leaving? A better question is, what experience are customers having that I am failing to notice? A parent may ask, why does my child ignore me? A better question is, have I built enough trust for my child to listen? A leader may ask, why does my team lack motivation? A better question is, what am I modeling? Better questions create better conversations, better decisions, and better solutions. Practice this today. When frustration rises, pause before reacting. Replace the first emotional question with a constructive one. You cannot always choose what happens, but you can choose the question you bring to what happens. And that choice is powerful, because the quality of your life is deeply connected to the quality of the questions you are willing to ask. Change the question, and sometimes the entire future begins to move. Starting today consistently. The 5th skill is learning to finish, not start, finish. Starting feels exciting because beginnings are full of possibility. Finishing requires patience after the excitement disappears. That is why unfinished dreams fill so many lives. People begin courses, businesses, books, workouts, relationships, and projects, then abandon them when progress becomes slow. You do not need more beginnings. Think about a person who owns 20 books but has finished none. Another person owns 3 books and has studied them carefully, applied their lessons, and changed behavior because of them. Who has more knowledge? The answer is obvious. Information becomes valuable when it is completed, understood, and applied. Finishing trains your mind to move from intention to reality. Finish cleaning the room. Finish the assignment before opening another distraction. Every completion sends a message. I am a person who follows through. Imagine an entrepreneur with 10 ideas and no finished product. Another entrepreneur has 1 idea and works until something real reaches the market. The second person may make mistakes, but mistakes made in reality can be corrected. An imaginary future cannot teach you what real action reveals. Finishing does not mean refusing to change direction. Sometimes wisdom says a project should end. The skill is not blindly completing everything forever. The skill is learning to distinguish between a wise ending and an emotional escape. Ask yourself, am I stopping because this no longer serves the mission, or because the process became uncomfortable? That question can expose the difference between wisdom and avoidance. Progress is often boring before it becomes impressive. The athlete repeats drills, the writer edits pages, the musician practices scales, the builder measures again. The leader has difficult conversations. Nobody applauds every repetition, but repetition produces mastery. You may be closer than you think. Do not throw away 6 months of progress because the 7th month feels difficult. Do not abandon a healthy habit because one day went badly. Do not call yourself incapable because one attempt failed. Finish the next step, then finish the step after that. Your life does not transform through one heroic moment. It transforms through hundreds of completed ordinary moments. So choose one unfinished thing that still matters. Give it your attention. Set a clear deadline, then finish. When you become someone who finishes, people trust you. Opportunities increase. Confidence grows. Your ideas become tangible. Your potential becomes visible. You stop being a person who talks about what could happen. You become a person who makes things happen. Now let us connect the 5 skills, because their real power appears when they work together. Listening teaches you to receive truth. Keeping promises teaches you to trust yourself. Managing attention teaches you to protect your energy. Asking better questions teaches you to direct your thinking. Finishing teaches you to turn intention into reality. Individually, each skill looks small. Together they become a personal operating system. You keep one promise you made to yourself. When a problem appears, you ask a better question. Before the day ends, you finish one meaningful task. Nothing about that day looks spectacular. But repeat it for a year, and your life may become almost unrecognizable. This is where many people make a mistake. They want transformation to feel dramatic. They want a breakthrough, a sudden opportunity, a perfect morning, a powerful connection, a moment when everything changes. Sometimes those moments happen, but most transformation is quieter. It looks like waking up when you said you would. It looks like saying no when temptation asks for your attention. It looks like admitting, I was wrong. It looks like opening the book again. It looks like making the difficult phone call. It looks like finishing what you started. Small skills are powerful because they are available to anyone. You do not need permission to listen better. You do not need wealth to keep a promise. You do not need a special connection to protect your attention. You do not need a title to ask a better question. You do not need perfect circumstances to finish one important task. This means you have power today than you may realize. Do not wait until you feel ready. Readiness often comes after action, not before it. A person who practices these skills begins to develop something deeper: self-leadership. Instead of being controlled by every mood, impulse, opinion, and circumstance, that person becomes increasingly capable of directing their own life. That is real freedom. Freedom is not doing everything you feel like doing. Freedom is having enough mastery to choose what deserves your energy. So make this practical. For the next 30 days, choose one skill each week. Spend the first week listening, the second week keeping promises, the third protecting attention, the fourth asking better questions. Then continue practicing all 5. Keep a simple record. Do not judge yourself dramatically. At the end of the month, ask, who am I becoming? Because that is the question that matters most. Your life is not only what you accomplish. Your life is what your repeated practices turn you into. There is another lesson hidden inside these skills. Your environment will constantly test them. You may decide to protect your attention, and someone will interrupt you. You may decide to keep your word, and motivation will disappear. You may decide to listen, and someone will say something that triggers your emotions. You may ask better questions, and the answer may demand courage. You may decide to finish, and the final stretch may become harder than the beginning. That is normal. A skill is not proven when conditions are easy. A skill is proven when conditions become difficult. Its strength is not revealed on a calm morning. The storm reveals the depth of its roots. In the same way, pressure reveals whether your habits are real or merely ideas you admire. So stop being surprised by resistance. Expect it. Suppose you promised yourself an hour of focused work, but you feel tired. The goal is not to feel powerful. The goal is to practice keeping the promise. Suppose someone criticizes you. Your first instinct may be defense. Pause. Listen. Separate the useful truth from the unnecessary insult. You do not have to accept every opinion, but you can learn from almost every encounter. Suppose a problem appears. Your mind may immediately say, "This is terrible." Interrupt that pattern. Ask, "What is the next useful move?" Not the perfect move, the next useful move. Suppose you have a project that feels overwhelming. Break it into pieces. Complete one piece, then another. Momentum often arrives after movement. This is how mature people operate. They stop demanding that life cooperate before they act. They act with what they have. You cannot control every person. You cannot control every economy, market, conversation, delay, rejection, or surprise. But you can develop skills that remain useful in almost every environment. That is why small skills are more valuable than temporary motivation. Motivation may start the engine. Skill teaches you how to drive. And when you practice these skills long enough, something changes. You become less reactive, more observant, more dependable, more focused, more resourceful, more capable of finishing what matters. People may call it confidence. But confidence is often evidence. It is the evidence collected from hundreds of moments when you listened instead of reacted, kept your word instead of escaping, protected your attention instead of wasting it, asked a better question instead of surrendering, and finished instead of quitting. So when the next storm comes, remember this: you are not trying to become fearless. You are becoming skilled enough to move forward while fear is present. Now imagine standing at the end of your life and looking backward. You see thousands of ordinary mornings, conversations, choices, interruptions, opportunities, disappointments, and decisions. You realize something uncomfortable. Your life was not mainly shaped by the rare moments when everything changed. It was shaped by what you repeatedly did when nothing seemed dramatic. That is why today matters. The way you listen today matters. The promise you keep today matters. The hour you protect today matters. The question you ask today matters. The task you finish today matters. You may not see the result immediately, but seeds do not become forests in a single afternoon. Think about a person who begins saving a small amount of money. At first, the amount seems insignificant, but consistency changes the meaning of small numbers. The same principle applies to reading, exercise, learning, relationships, discipline, and personal growth. This is good news because it means you do not have to fix your entire life tonight. You only need to make your next decision better. If your relationships are struggling, listen better. If your confidence is weak, keep one promise. If your mind is scattered, protect one focused block. If your situation feels impossible, ask a better question. If your dream feels distant, finish the next step. That is enough today. Do not make growth unnecessarily complicated. You can spend months designing the perfect system and never practice the basics. Return to the basics. Keep your word. Protect your attention. Ask better questions. Finish. These skills will serve you in a classroom, a company, a marriage, a friendship, a business, a difficult season, and a successful season. In fact, success makes them even more important because greater opportunity requires greater capacity. When more people depend on you, you must listen. When more opportunities appear, you must focus. When bigger responsibilities arrive, you must keep your word. When complex problems appear, you must ask better questions. When important missions demand patience, you must finish. Your future self is being built by your present habits. So make a decision now, not an emotional declaration that disappears tomorrow, a practical decision. Choose the first skill you will practice. Choose when you will practice it. Choose what action will prove that you practiced it. Then begin. Because the distance between knowing and becoming is action. And the most powerful action is often the smallest action you are willing to repeat. Do not wait for a different life. Start becoming the person capable of creating it. So here is the challenge. Inspiration is useful, but inspiration without implementation becomes emotional entertainment. You need to become slightly more disciplined today. Choose one small skill and make it measurable. If you choose listening, have one conversation where you listen without interrupting. If you choose keeping promises, Make one promise so clear that you cannot misunderstand it, then keep it. If you choose attention, protect 30 minutes from your phone and unnecessary distractions. If you choose finishing, select one unfinished task and complete it before starting another unnecessary project. Then repeat. Consistency can make you powerful for years. There is a reason small skills matter so much. They are portable. You can carry them into every room. You can use them whether you are rich or poor, young or old, celebrated or unknown. You can lose possessions and still have wisdom. You can lose a position and still have discipline. You can lose an opportunity and still have the ability to learn. You can face rejection and still ask the next question. You can experience failure and still finish the next step. That is real wealth. The strongest person is not the one who controls everything around them. The strongest person is the one who increasingly controls their response to what happens around them. So build that strength. When you wake tomorrow, do not ask, how can I change my entire life today? At night, do not ask, was I perfect? Ask, did I move? If you failed, learn from it. If you succeeded, stay humble and repeat it. This is how ordinary days become extraordinary lives. One focused hour, one better question, one finished task. Your future is not hiding somewhere far away. It is being assembled in the choices you are making right now. So take your hands off the excuses. Take your eyes off comparison. Take your attention back from the noise. Return to your purpose. Return to your discipline. Return to the next useful action. And remember this, you do not have to transform your whole life in one day. You have to transform what you do every day. Change the small things consistently, and the big things will eventually have to respond. Your life can change, but the change begins where you are, with what you have, through what you practice next. You only need to make your next decision better. If your relationships are struggling, listen better. If your confidence is weak, keep one promise. If your mind is scattered, protect one focused block. If your situation feels impossible, ask a better question. If your dream feels distant, finish the next step. That is enough today. Do not make growth unnecessarily complicated. You can spend months designing the perfect system and never practice the basics. Return to the basics. Keep your word. Protect your attention. Ask better questions. Finish. These skills will serve you in a classroom, a company, a marriage, a friendship, a business, a difficult season, and a successful season. In fact, success makes them even more important because greater opportunity requires greater capacity. When more people depend on you, you must listen. When more opportunities appear, you must focus. When bigger responsibilities arrive, you must keep your word. When complex problems appear, you must ask better questions. When important missions demand patience, you must finish. Your future self is being built by your present habits. So make a decision now, not an emotional declaration that disappears tomorrow, a practical decision. Choose the first skill you will practice. Choose when you will practice it. Choose what action will prove that you practiced it. Then begin. Because the distance between knowing and becoming is action, and the most powerful action is often the smallest action you are willing to repeat. Do not wait for a different life. Start becoming the person capable of creating it. So here is the challenge. Inspiration is useful, but inspiration without implementation becomes emotional entertainment. You need to become slightly more disciplined today. Choose one small skill and make it measurable. If you choose listening, have one conversation where you listen without interrupting. If you choose keeping promises, make one promise so clear that you cannot misunderstand it, then keep it. If you choose attention, protect 30 minutes from your phone and unnecessary distractions. If you choose finishing, select one unfinished task and complete it before starting another unnecessary project. Then repeat. Consistency can make you powerful for years. There is a reason small skills matter so much. They are portable. You can carry them into every room. You can use them whether you are rich or poor, young or old, celebrated or unknown. You can lose possessions and still have wisdom. You can lose a position and still have discipline. You can lose an opportunity and still have the ability to learn. You can face rejection and still ask the next question. You can experience failure and still finish the next step. That is real wealth. The strongest person is not the one who controls everything around them. The strongest person is the one who increasingly controls their response to what happens around them. So build that strength. When you wake tomorrow, do not ask, how can I change my entire life today? At night, do not ask, was I perfect? Ask, did I move? If you failed, learn from it. If you succeeded, stay humble and repeat it. This is how ordinary days become extraordinary lives. One focused hour, one better question, one finished task. Your future is not hiding somewhere far away. It is being assembled in the choices you are making right now. So take your hands off the excuses. Take your eyes off comparison. Take your attention back from the noise. Return to your purpose. Return to your discipline. Return to the next useful action. And remember this, you do not have to transform your whole life in one day. You have to transform what you do every day. Change the small things consistently, and the big things will eventually have to respond. Your life can change, but the change begins where you are, with what you have, through what you practice next.